What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Scruff Squad Presents, the broadcast from the Burbs. We're coming to you from Westchester, Illinois, 60154. I am your host, Danny Adams. Here with me, as always, is my co-host, Phil Martin.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And our producers, Jimmy Adams and Sam Martin.
What's up? It's the Diesel.
Hey, what's going on?
We've got a great show for you guys today, so let's get right into it. Travis Scott has a possible sophomore album releasing this week. He announced it at one of his live shows last week, so be on the lookout for that. I'm not sure when, but hopefully this week.
Yeah, actually a new supergroup in Chicago is forming called Fight Me. Supa from Hurt Everybody is probably the headliner of it. It also has Vavy and Shepard Hues. They dropped their first single on Shade 45 called Annie, so I'm looking forward to seeing what else they have.
Thelonious Martin just released a new song featuring Joey Purp. We're not exactly sure how it's pronounced, but we're going to go with Bomaye, so be sure to check that out.
Yeah, Mick Jenkins just dropped Sunkissed featuring ThemIND, and ThemIND also has a new mixtape coming out called Summer Camp, so keep in tune for that.
Something I want to spend a little more time on is Logic's new mixtape. It's called Body Tarantino. It just released this last week. Some singles off of it include Flexecution and Wrist that we've talked about in the past. I'm really excited to hear about it. It seems like he did a lot of experimenting on it with his sound. He sounds a little bit different than his past music, and I mean, I just think it's something that's really strong and important in his career.
Yeah, actually, when you were playing it earlier for us, Dan, I was actually surprised when you said it was Logic, because the first track, I think, he came in pretty heavily auto-tuned, and, you know, that's just something we're not really used to hearing from Logic, and that's one thing that I actually enjoyed hearing.
Yeah, well, that's actually the third track called The Jam.
Okay.
Yeah, like you said, we're obviously not used to hearing Logic with some auto-tune on, and, I mean, if you brought it up to me before hearing the song, I might kind of be a little iffy on it, but after hearing it, it's something, like I said, that's completely different. He's experimenting, but it doesn't sound bad at all.
Yeah, it works for sure.
Yeah, you know, when Wrist first came out, when he dropped that as a single with Pusha T, I thought, man, this is going to be an awesome mixtape when he comes out with it and stuff. And I really like it because he keeps, some of his same flow, because I know way back last fall, you guys remember when we saw him live at Freaky Deaky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard of Logic at that point, but I never really heard of him. And that actually made me really start listening to him. So I'm like, damn, this guy's got some good flow. And it's nice because, or it's cool because, you know, he was into that whole, he's into all the video games and the movies and stuff like that too. And it was just interesting to learn about someone new like that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, before we saw him, I obviously had heard the name, and I wanted to see him to see what he was all about and what all the hype was about. And after seeing him, I'm really appreciative that we did, because, like you said, he turned up, he performed a bunch of hits, and I pretty much immediately, went home the next day and just listened to all of his past work. So,
and we actually got those. You guys remember we got those little flyers of
the posters.
Yeah. God, what was it? What were they?
It was The Incredible True Story.
Oh, that's what it was for. Yeah, you're right. That's what that was on it.
Album at that point. And which that was a great album, by the way. And going back to what Phil said about him being into video games and stuff like that, there's a song off of Body Tarantino called Super Mario World where, like Phil said, he's kind of a nerd when it comes to that. He's a gamer, he loves video games, he even has his own YouTube channel where he plays video games. And this song Super Mario World, it's a great song because it has it sounds like it's out of a Super Mario video game. It's got a bunch of just cool sounds, and it sounds like it's straight out of a video game.
Yeah, that's actually what I like about Logic's music is regardless of whether he's talking about his personal life growing up in Baltimore or whether he's talking about video games and stuff like that, he definitely adds a personal touch to it, and that's not something a lot of rappers have nowadays, and it's just kind of refreshing to hear.
Yeah, it's cool because, everyone has their thing that, like you said, he's kind of a nerd when it comes to this. Well, everyone has their thing that makes them a nerd and, you know, whatever. But I think it's just awesome that he brings it into music, too. So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the songs on this mixtape, I don't know, if hearing them, all throughout, they might not go together, but if you know him and, follow his music and know him as an artist, you'll, know how, the Super Mario World sounds out of place, maybe, but it really explains his personality, and it just adds another element to the mixtape as a whole. Yeah, moving on, something else we really want to talk about is Desiigner's new mixtape that he released called New English. He released it a week and a half ago or something, and for about a week it was title exclusive, and then finally he released it for on all major platforms, And so, Phil, what are your initial thoughts on it?
Yeah, you know, when I first heard this, I heard it, like, I played the album from start to finish, straight through, and when I first heard the intro, I was like, oh man, this is kind of dramatic. It was almost like a beginning of a movie scene build-up before like a big
classical music,
before like the big action scene or something, and then the way it flowed into the next song, which was called Caliber, the second song on the album, it just flowed in perfectly, and then that beat drops, and you're just like, damn, this is awesome. Like, this is gonna be a good mixtape. His third song, Make It Out, I was so surprised to see this side of Desiigner, because he sounded to me exactly like G Herbo in this.
Exactly, it's something we've never really heard from him before.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when I showed you guys, I compared it to G Herbo's Pistol P project or the song called Heaven or Hell off the Pistol P project, and we compared them side by side, and I was like, damn, like this is pretty spot on.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I know when you first played Make It Out, I thought you were playing a new G Herbo song that I hadn't heard, and then when you asked who it was, or when you told us who it was, and it was Desiigner, I was kind of awestruck because, like I said, I've never heard it. Obviously, Panda is like his only main song out, so there's nothing else I really could have heard other than that. But like, it was a complete like 180 of what I thought was going to happen.
It was kind of like an anticipated, or well, I wouldn't say anticipated. Well, it was anticipated because we knew something was coming out, but it, you know, everyone was kind of on the edge of their seats waiting for him to put something else out, so we heard something more than just Panda on the radio.
Exactly.
And you know, it's a short album or mixtape. I'm not sure which one it is, but he's got songs that are 30 seconds long to 6 minutes long. To most of them are, I think, like on average, I think it was like a minute and a half, 2 minutes long.
They're pretty short.
Yeah, it's strange.
A few of my favorites on there. Well, one of them that you were talking about, I think, Monsters and Villains. I really liked the beat. It was a really cool song, except it was super short. I wish that one was, I don't know, maybe twice as long. That way I can kind of like.
I feel like you could have done more with it too, but
yeah,
you know.
I mean, so that was one of my favorite tracks. He had one on there, Talk Regardless was one of my favorites. And then my two overall favorites, one's called Da Day. It comes like basically right off of the second interlude, which is kind of cool because it sounded like it was continuing off of it. His voice to me sounded like King Louis, so whether he was going for that drill influence or not, that's what I got from it. The second half of that track was actually seemed a little faster tempo too, so it definitely had two different parts. And then finally, I think my favorite overall track was Jet featuring Pusha T. Overall, I mean, Desiigner had is basically his very low pitched voice, Future sort of sounding, but then Pusha T came in with a very refreshing verse, and I can always count on Pusha for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think going into this mixtape, I was expecting pretty much a Future mixtape, like considering Designer's sound is pretty much Future. Yeah, based off of Panda, that's what I was expecting. But I feel like Desiigner took a different route on this, and he had pretty much drill influenced beats, it sounded like, for the most part, where it's something like a Chicago artist like G Herbo or Lil Bibby or somebody would rap over, but he made it his own with he had that Future sound still, but he made it his own over these beats. And I think it was something that was really cool also is he switched up his voice. Like, he doesn't sound like Young Thug, but he switches up his voice. Like we said, on Make It Out, he sounds like G Herbo a little bit. Jimmy said on what, Today, he sounded a little bit like King Louis. Like, it's a different sound than we've heard on Panda. Like, Panda kind of makes him seem like a one-dimensional artist, kind of. He's just going to keep making bangers. And, yeah, most of this is bangers, but he switches it up, and he doesn't sound exactly the same.
Yeah, it keeps it fresh, for sure.
He definitely shows his versatility in this.
For sure.
Yeah, so moving on to something I really want to talk about. Obviously, last week we talked about the XXL freshman class, and now they obviously in the past like week or two they've released their freestyles, and I know we listened to them, took some notes, and we also rated them out of 5 stars, and like obviously 1 star being the worst, 5 stars being the best. So if you guys want to go right into it, we'll start off with Kodak Black.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed Kodak's freestyle a lot. His flow sounded pretty similar to like his flow in songs that he already has out, particularly his song Lockjaw with French Montana. Overall, I gave him a 3 out of 5 just because, you know, it sounded like something I've already heard Kodak do before, and you know, there's a lot of people on this list that stood out to me more. Not to say Kodak's was bad, but I just found his a little average compared to some of the better ones, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Kodak Black is becoming a bigger name in the industry. he was a little bit hard to understand. I know that's kind of just how his sound is. And it didn't seem like he was really taking it serious. He was smiling the whole time, showing off his gold grills. And, I mean, obviously, like, that's something you got to consider while listening to this. And I also wasn't a big fan of the flow. I know he started off kind of slow, and even though there's no beat over these freestyles, he sounded like he was having trouble, like, catching his own beat in his head. And then he sped up a little bit at the end. And, I mean, I guess it could be a little, like, it could add another dynamic to the change of speed. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't think it really added much. So honestly, he was probably my least favorite, just because, like I said, it's hard to understand. Nothing really stood out to me, so I gave him 2 out of 5 stars. But that's just my opinion, obviously. But yeah, the next person who went that we listened to was Denzel Curry. I didn't have a ton to write about, like note wise, but he did talk a lot about not actually doing hip-hop, but like it's his real life, which I think is a cool dynamic. So, I mean, me personally, I gave him 4 stars. I really liked it. Nothing really stood out insanely, like, a lot to me, but it just, he had a good freestyle.
Yeah, it was very solid.
That's what you're looking for, obviously.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar with that. I gave him a 3 just because, like I said, it was a solid freestyle. One of the things that I liked, and it's sort of similar for all these guys, but with him especially, it sort of sounded like an open mic poetry type of, the way he was, like, flowing his words. That's what it reminded me of. I mean, it's pretty similar to everybody else, but, I mean, Denzel, I don't know, I like his music in general, so I wouldn't really use his freestyle as a representation of all of his music, but, I mean, I thought he did a pretty good job. Like I said, there's people I like more than him, so, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I wouldn't necessarily take these freestyles that they put out and, you know, make a judgment off of them as to what their music is, because, you know, these freestyles to me were just kind of like a little snippet of their autobiography or something, in a sense, because you can tell, like, I know G Herbo we're going to get into him later, but I know, you know, he talks a lot about, like, his problems in Chicago, and Denzel Curry, you know, he speaks from the heart as well. He's, like you just said, the problems and stuff. So you can really see where these artists are coming from. Yeah, personally are coming from, and what they're going to do. With that being said, there's no music in the background of these, and, you know, it's off the top of their head, obviously. It's a freestyle. So it's really hard to judge their work on these things, but I think, like I said, I think it's a great way just to kind of, like, tell the world who you are within a song.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's specific because people have heard their music before. That's how they became a XXL freshman.
Right.
But they want these freestyles to literally just focus on them, what they can do, what their voice is. And I think the next person we're going to talk about really embodies that, and that's Anderson .Paak, because we all know he's got that soulful kind of 80s inspired funk to his voice, and he makes his, like I wrote down, it's pretty sing-songy, and he puts his own twist on it, which is awesome. I know he uses a lot of metaphors, which I don't know off the top of my head, but he was definitely one of, I think, my top 2 favorite freestyles. I gave him a 5 stars. And I love his voice, and even without the music, it had its own melody to it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I put him in my top 2 as well. Like you said, he has a very, like, sing-songy voice, but at the same time, he can rap. And I thought his voice to me is very, like, raspy and soulful, and that he really portrayed that in the freestyle. And I just think his was one of my favorites just because his voice is so dynamic that even without a beat, I don't really get bored listening to it, and that's one of the most important things to me.
Yeah, and I just want to say really quick, that style that Anderson .Paak brings is definitely making a comeback right now. So he's definitely ahead of the game, I think.
Oh yeah, completely.
It'll come around real quick.
Yeah, and this XXL freshman cover just helps him that much more.
Exactly.
And now somebody we've definitely probably all heard by now is Desiigner. His freestyle kind of went viral. It starts off with a Timmy Turner, like people are dubbing videos over it and making them out of jokes. But one thing I can say, it's really short. It's kind of hard to understand, but that's just Desiigner as he is. But the thing I do like about it is he makes his own beat. He, like, snaps in the background. He keeps his own pace, and that's really nice. And something else I'm looking forward to is he said he's turning this into a song, which I've heard the snippet of, which is good. It's Mike Dean produced, and it's going to have Travis Scott in it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how Travis Scott and Desiigner work together. But I gave Desiigner 3-star out of 5 just because, like I said, nothing really crazy about it, but I mean, it was still entertaining. So
yeah, I mean, at this point, at that point, I've only heard Panda from Desiigner, so this is sort of, it's not exactly as big as Panda, obviously, but it is sort of turning into a viral hit through the video dubs and stuff like that. So after listening to the project, though, I mean, I think we know that he's going into a little bit more of a one-hit wonder type of thing.
Yeah. Danny,
he's doing more than that, is what I mean.
Yeah, Danny, going off what you said, I really liked when I saw him doing his freestyle and kind of making his own beat by snapping his fingers and stuff, because I feel like that really kind of foreshadows or rides alongside of Panda itself, because that song is not only known for his content and the way he does the verses, but the beat itself, that beat goes crazy, man.
Right.
And everybody noticed that, oh man, this beat's nuts, and the way, and you can kind of tell in his new mixtape, we just talked about it, his new mixtape or album that he just dropped, he kind of keeps those strong beats and stuff along with him, so we can definitely expect that, in the future as well.
Yeah, and kind of in complete contrast to Desiigner, next up was Lil Dicky. He had a super fast flow, and what I had to say about it is just, it's kind of typical Lil Dicky. He uses some metaphors, just joking around metaphors, and he talks about kind of where he is in the rap game and where he has come from. So I mean, it's definitely interesting to see. He, like I said, he raps pretty fast. I personally gave it a 5 stars just because, I mean, like I said in last week's episode, he's one of my favorite freestylers. He can just come up with stuff off the top of his head. He's really witty, and he makes sense while he's rapping. So yeah, he raps kind of fast, and sometimes it's hard to understand him, but I think just overall he just brought a different dynamic to a beatless freestyle, and I think that's awesome.
It was cool because he just kind of stood there and stood there, hands by his side, looked in the camera, and just started rapping and went nuts. And I know me personally, I couldn't understand a word that guy was saying. That shit went crazy, man. But like you said, Danny, he's an awesome freestyle artist, and I'm psyched to hear what he's got coming up in the future.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I said last week, I'm not a huge Lil Dicky fan just because he doesn't seem to take it as seriously.
Yeah.
But this was one of my more favorite things Lil Dicky has done, just because he seemed to take a more personal attack through this. I mean, like Danny said, he states where he thinks his place is in the rap game, and I think that's important to know, where you stand and where you hope to go. So I mean, I didn't understand everything he was saying just because he was going so quickly, but I did enjoy that aspect of it.
Next up, and probably one of, if not my favorites, is G Herbo. Obviously he's a Chicago guy, so you got to be a little biased towards that, but his, first off, it was super long. It was 2.5 or 3 minutes, which is
he had one of the longer ones,
3 or 4 times
or if
as long
not
as
the
other
longest
people.
one.
I think it was the longest.
And so I think something that was really cool is he talked about his experiences rather than just rapping about nonsense. He talked about where he grew up, the people he grew up around him, and his influences. And I think one line that really stuck out to me, it was something like, "Kids won't see their parents because homie ain't aiming." That's just crazy to think about, because I mean, we hear on the news every day all of these shootings that have gone wrong, the wrong target gets hit, and shootings in general obviously they don't need to happen. So I don't know. Like I said, it's not our place to talk about it, but I think that just really kind of hits home. It's pretty deep.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about G Herbo's freestyle was that it seemed like he was rapping very well without even needing a beat. It just seemed like there was a beat there even though there wasn't. Yeah, you know what I mean? It was just a weird feeling that I got, but his deep voice shows the emotion that he was going through, and obviously the lyrics are pretty personal. Like Danny said, it was very long.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that because he got to talk about more stuff than some of the other freestyles.
Right, and he was kind of rolling a beat in his head. I can tell he was kind of getting something in his head to go along with it. And G Herbo has an upper hand in this freestyle, I think, because I listen to a lot of underground drill artists in Chicago and stuff, and when I listen to their freestyles, they all sound kind of similar in terms of what they talk about. And yeah, G Herbo, did a very good job of talking about his personal life and things that are going on in the city of Chicago. Well, drill artists alone, that's what drill is speaking what's going on in the city and speaking about, like, you know, shootings and drug dealing and, you know, just the struggles they came up through. So that's why I think G Herbo crushed this, because, you know, he just did not have a problem just
for sure
doing his thing.
No, I totally agree. Next up, we have Lil Uzi Vert. I was actually surprised by it because I wasn't really sure what Lil Uzi would be able to do through freestyling, but not saying that he was the best one there, but he was able to definitely do it. One of the things I like that he had a few cool double entendres. I can't think of them off the top of my head. I do have to re-listen to it, but I do know that he did a better job freestyling than I would have anticipated. And I'm a huge Lil Uzi fan, so... Yeah,
definitely. One thing that I saw an interview with Lil Yachty after hearing this for the first time, and Lil Yachty was talking about how a lot of these people have kind of already written something out beforehand so they can really bring their best work. But he said Lil Uzi was one of the people who didn't bring anything. It was literally off the top of his head. And I think that brings a different dynamic, because it's maybe not the greatest freestyle out of all 10 of them, but it shows like his personality. It shows kind of what's going on in his head and how he can rhyme. And I think it's something that it really sounds like poetry. It doesn't really necessarily... It sounds like he's speaking rather than trying to rap. And I think that's awesome. It didn't really flow, but it did rhyme pretty well. So I think that was one of his really strong points. And then next up, one of our last ones is Dave East, who, like I said last week, I haven't listened to a ton of him, but especially after hearing this freestyle, I really need to listen to more. I didn't know he was from New York before hearing this, but I could tell immediately as soon as I heard his style, voice, and his story. He talks about like his past experiences and temptations. Like one of his lines is how there's a liquor store on every corner, so we might as well drink. Like it's just there, so he's gonna do it.
Right.
And I think just his experience, his flow, and just his overall just freestyle in general was really impressive. So I gave it 5 stars. It was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I liked what I heard from Dave East. I wouldn't give him a 5-star personally, just because, I mean, everybody, like Phil said earlier, it's very autobiographical. So, I mean, everybody was kind of doing something similar to that. So I gave him a 3 just because I'm not super familiar with him. Although after hearing this, I do want to listen to a lot more. I did like, he had a very heavy, like, hitting voice. And like Danny said, you could tell he's from New York. And like I said, I don't know a ton about him, but this is definitely enticing me to listen to more of him.
Yeah, second to last, we have 21 Savage. And once again, I haven't listened to a ton of his music, but one thing I noticed from this is it was pretty nonchalant. He was talking about some real serious stuff, but he didn't really have a lot of expression in his voice. I don't know if that was intentional or if that's just kind of how he sounds, but I think something that was really interesting about this is it seemed like he was talking about someone, and I wrote down maybe it could have been himself in like third person, like he was talking about himself as if he was seeing like an out-of-body experience, which I think was really interesting to see, but obviously like there's no way of telling until like obviously you ask him about it. So
yeah, 21 Savage, just I don't know, I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. It was probably my least favorite out of all these freestyles, and to me, he just kind of sounded a little flat in this, and like I said, I haven't heard a lot of 21 Savage. I'm definitely not going to knock him by any means for this whatsoever. Like, I'm definitely going to go out my way and listen to more of it. But, you know, I didn't think it was all there, and I don't know how you guys felt the same. Well, I mean, if you guys felt the same, I'm not sure.
I sort of agree with you, but the other thing is, it was very short. It might have been the shortest one, and I think that...
Yeah, I was going to say that too, yeah.
I mean, I think he had the choice to go longer. I kind of wish he would have, just because,
I don't know, maybe you
get a little bit more content.
True.
Maybe he feels it a little more. I don't know. I just wish he would have given us a little more. But from what I heard, it wasn't terrible. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, and I know for a lot of these artists, as they went on, they started to really, like, nail their own, the beat that was in their head, and they kind of, caught their flow a little more. So maybe, even if you can't think of anything at the start, I don't know if he like called it quits or what, but if he was able to just kind of just struggle through it, so to speak, and then just kind of like come out with something, because like we said, like we've heard some of his music, and from what we've heard, we've liked what we've heard. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be kind of awkward just starting out of nowhere. There's no beat, there's no bass drop. Like you just kind of start. So it's got to kind of take some getting used to in time, and like obviously this isn't what they're used to doing, so it's going to take some practice, and I mean that's just what it's going to take. So
yeah, I was just going to ask, like, do you guys know if they like get to prepare for this at all, or are they just kind of all brought together in a room or whatnot and then set up? And
I would imagine that they have the option to prepare. I mean, they know when they're on the cover.
True.
So I mean,
well,
like Danny,
I guess
you know what
you're
I mean?
right.
Like Danny said that Yachty was talking about Lil Uzi, and some of the guys prepared stuff.
Yeah.
So I would imagine they would have time to practice it, and I mean, when you're on the spot doing it, it's a little different.
Oh,
so,
of course.
Like I said, I don't know. I don't think he did that bad. He's obviously a XXL freshman for a reason. So.
Oh yeah, no.
Like we said, these don't like embody the whole artist.
Yeah,
it's just sort of like a clip into their life. So.
Yeah, and I mean for all the listeners too, like I wouldn't take this as your recommendation. Like,
definitely
look into more. Like, don't take this freestyle and make judgments off these freestyles.
Exactly. Yeah. And now, last but not least, I think one of the most slept on and kind of underrated artists on the XXL freshman cover is Lil Yachty. He starts out, and like I've heard mixed reviews about his freestyle, because he starts out and he's really not serious. He says like, "Hi, mommy, I made it," and he's kind of joking around. And you can see the camera like panorama.
Like, it was like moving back and forth.
Yeah, it's like moving, wobbling back and forth,
wobbling.
and I think it just kind of shows off his personality. How
because he was the only one that did that.
Yeah, nobody else had anything like that, so it just shows kind of his bubbly personality and just the fun he likes to have.
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with like a lot of his music videos that he already has out. Like I know we talked about one last week on the show.
Yeah,
we talked about the One Night video and just how like it's just kind of like a funny video, like kind of weird, abnormal, like wasn't expecting that kind of video. And it's cool that he actually brings that into that freestyle too.
Right, and that's why one of the things that I like about Lil Yachty so much is his personality.
Right.
He adds a different flair. Like his music is like bubblegum trap, as he self-describes. And, I mean, he even has content too sometimes.
Right.
If you listen to the content of his freestyle, he shouts out his mom, which may seem like a joke at first, but then he talks about how far he's come as an artist, and it's sort of like, you know, like, look at me now, Mom, like, be proud of me, like, look at what I've done. And he's done a lot for his age.
You see, I've heard a lot of people think, like, Lil Yachty, like, oh, he kind of takes it as a joke. I don't think he takes it necessarily as a joke, but he has a lot of fun with what he's doing.
That's how he
is.
There's
no problem with that,
his personality.
Yeah. And I think one thing I really like about him is we've seen interviews before of him talking about, like, these OGs, like, these older music listeners who don't respect him, don't agree with what he's doing, but his answer to that is simple and it's right. Like, music isn't the same as what it used to be. Like, if obviously I love the Tupac and the Biggie and all that, but if music was still like that, hip hop would probably be dead by now, because it would be the same thing over and over. And so, I mean, it's everybody builds off of something, and I mean that's obviously important in the industry.
Yeah, the biggest thing about music, especially if you're like trying to become a new upcoming artist, is putting out something that the listener doesn't know they want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And, you know...
trying new things.
Exactly.
That's like Kanye when he put out 808s and Heartbreak. He was ahead of his time.
Right.
And now that's one of his most classic albums.
And even The Life of Pablo, take that for example. He came out, he's got that soulful feel to it. Well, what came out right after? Coloring Book.
Right.
Had that same soulful feel to it. Like, it's up there now.
Yeah, it's getting the trend, yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, a lot of people are still following it, but it's also, you know, moving the game forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, and sticking with the XXL freshman theme, a few Cyphers came out where it's an actual beat that some of the freshmen get put on the same track as. Like, for example, the first one was Desiigner, Anderson .Paak, and Lil Dicky. And kind of right off the bat, those are three people I never thought I would see on a song together. They all have different sounds, different styles, and it's really impressive to see them all on one beat. Probably, I would compare the beat to more of a Desiigner beat. It went pretty hard, and it's just something I could see Desiigner rapping over. And he had like he had the first verse, and so he had kind of the longest verse. And then when Anderson .Paak comes in, he takes his own style, but switches it up so it sounds good, so it doesn't sound out of place. And then Lil Dicky comes in at the end, and he does what he does best, just raps and freestyles pretty much over that, and he does a great job too.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought, like I said, I'm not a huge Lil Dicky fan, but it did seem like he was kind of tagged on to the end. Desiigner got the most time, it seemed like, which there's nothing wrong with that. I don't mind Desiigner, but I think a guy like Lil Dicky could have really shined in the situation, because he does have the fast flows. he has a lot of like double entendres and a lot of plays on words and stuff like that. So I feel like I wish him and maybe even Anderson .Paak would have had a little more time. Not to discredit Desiigner, because I did enjoy his, but...
Yeah, and then the second one that came out, it includes Denzel Curry, Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Yachty, 21 Savage, and Kodak Black. So, I mean, that's 5 of them right there, half of the freshmen on one track. And, yeah, the beat might not have been super impressive on this one. I feel like they could have done better. I know Kodak Black kind of says that at the beginning, like, how are you going to put me on this trash beat? But then rhymes with it and goes with it. And I think that this one is cool because they all kind of have a similar flow. Yeah, they all sound different, but they all kind of make the same type of hip-hop. And I think that's awesome because this one sounds like it's just kind of one song rather than a cypher where all these different sounds come together. It just sounds like a song that they're all featured on.
Yeah, actually one of my favorite aspects of it was that like they were all sort of like a team. They were like feeding off of each other. They were doing like ad-libs for each other. And that was something I really liked because like that sounds like something it would be like a professional song or something. So that I like that as opposed to, Danny, you were saying earlier, not to steal your thunder, but you were saying that instead of like a competitive look at it where they're all freestyling against each other, they're all like going at it like a team, like collaborating on one track.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. I know a lot of the cyphers in the past, it seems like somebody's trying to steal the show, you're trying to bring your best stuff, and obviously that's what you want to do, but I like seeing this because they were all like kind of doing ad-libs in the background. It's like I think Lil Yachty was saying like 21 21 21 as 21 Savage was going, and they were all kind of making their own ad-libs, and I think that was awesome because like I said, it felt like a team. It felt like they were all in one group.
Yeah, they're bringing each other up with everyone else for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
It was cool. Yeah. It was cool to see that, and I think like you said about the beat earlier, it was a strange beat because they went like in, and then as soon as the DJ or whatever that was spinning, he kind of spun in, and then it went to a different style beat, and it was like, whoa, like how are you gonna rap over that now? But it was cool because I think the ad-libs and stuff, everyone was like in it together, and they were all, you know, and I think I don't know who it was, but someone was doing the ad-libs for Uzi Vert. I think it was.
It could have been Denzel Curry.
I think it might have Denzel. Yeah, it might have been Denzel Curry. But it was. I thought that was awesome because like I thought Uzi started out kind of slow in his, and then he kind of like
words at first.
And then as like he kind of went, whoever was doing the ad-libs for him in the back kind of like picked him up, and then he started feeling it and started going in more. So.
And for those of you keeping count, obviously G Herbo and Dave East are the only two that haven't made something yet. So I would imagine that would drop in the next week or so, and I'm really looking forward to hearing that because I feel like they both have similar experiences. They're just from two different cities. G Herbo's obviously from Chicago, Dave East is from New York, so I'm excited to see how they complement each other on a track.
For sure.
Yeah, I would have loved to hear G Herbo and Desiigner, especially after hearing that song off his mixtape. Like those two, I think could have clicked pretty well.
Together.
It would. I thought it would have been cool because, like we said, you know, got the trap beats.
I mean,
and
who knows? Desiigner, G Herbo, hop on a track together.
They may in the future. That'd be.
We're calling it here. We're calling it here.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So jumping right into our artists on the rise this week, it's WARHOL's from Chicago. He's making huge waves in the hip-hop scene. I'm really excited. He's one of my favorites, honestly, right now, not just in Chicago, but just in general. I'm always bumping his music on SoundCloud.
Yep.
And something that really excites me about him is he's already a Red Bull Sound Select artist. I think he's like 18 years old or something.
Yeah, he's pretty young.
Yeah, so he's already a Red Bull Sound Select artist, which is a really huge deal. He performed at the Red Bull Sound Select concert, which was headlined by Soulja Boy, who we maybe haven't heard a bunch from in the recent like years.
Coming back.
Yeah, but I haven't heard that name in a while, man. Yeah,
but he's working real hard, and he is putting out a lot of stuff. And then the other person who performed was Bobby Raps, who I know is also making waves. And unfortunately, we didn't get to go to the show, but I saw videos and it looked completely turned. So I think one of the things that really makes WARHOL stick out amongst like everybody else in Chicago, because obviously a bunch of people are coming up in Chicago right now, is his production. I know one of the people he collabs with a lot is Brent Rambo, who he makes the most out of the box beats I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like he takes sounds that you don't think would work together in a hip hop song or a song in general and makes it sound perfectly.
Well, yeah, I think I actually saw an interview. I don't know if it was with WARHOL or Brent Rambo. I don't remember. But they were saying that when Brent Rambo's making his beats, like he's trying to make something, but he ends up putting the beat together like on accident, sort of. And like I just love the sound of it because you can't even really classify it into a genre of hip hop. It's just something so new. Like the song Speed Racer, for example. It's just like it sounds like, you know, the melody in it is just like something that doesn't seem like it would be a hip hop song, but then when you add the drums and stuff, it's like, wow, it really bangs.
Yeah, it'll work for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And another aspect to him that really, I mean, it's a make or break for an up and coming artist is his live shows. He, first off, pretty much every hip hop show I've seen flyers for in the last like 6 months or so, he's been on it. Like, he might not be headlining it, but he's going to be on it. And I know me and Jimmy went to the Lyrical Lemonade show a couple months ago for Lil Uzi Vert, and he was one of the smaller names that I never really heard of. I listened to a little bit coming up to the show, but I walked away from that concert with him maybe being my favorite performer of the night.
Yeah, I mean, before that show, I think I heard Supa Boof or something. I remember when I saw his name on the bill, I was like, all right, I'm familiar with this guy. But after seeing him live, I knew Supa Boof at that point, and from that point on, I was just like, wow, yeah, this guy's got a lot of crazy energy, and his music is super dope. It's like next level to me, and basically that's in my rotation every day.
Yeah, I mean, I remember looking at your guys' Snapchat stories and Snapchats that you guys sent me. I had no idea he was even there until I saw him. I'm like, man, like, this show looks lit. Like, it looks like it's bumping right now, and you know, between him and Lil Uzi Vert, and then, like you said, I think Famous Dex came late, you said, Sky, right?
Yeah.
And Lil Bibby came.
Lil Bibby was there,
Lil Bibby.
Surprise.
I mean, just like the atmosphere, like, just from the videos. I mean, I can only imagine if I were there, but, like,
yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said,
bumping.
With Lil Uzi, Lil Bibby, Famous Dex, like, all these big names. Like I said, I think I walked away from that show with him being my highlight of the night.
Yeah, but to remember Warhol like that in the midst of all those names, it shows that something's different about him. Something's popping.
He had, like, his gang of friends on stage, and that's the thing that I think I enjoyed about it was that, you know, I feel like I picture us doing that. Like, you know, we're a group of friends, and if I was on stage or if one of us, we would just be, like, jamming out, and that's, like,
it just makes it that much better.
I'm sure everybody does,
like,
yeah.
That's as an audience member in a concert like that, that's what I want to see, and that's how he turned me on to his music.
Yeah, and Warhol kind of has that voice for live performance, too. Like, he's kind of got that deep, groggy voice. Like,
deep voice.
Like, and you just want to, like, turn up to it, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, it reminds me a lot of, like, not the music itself, but seeing him live reminds me a lot of, like, Logic, how I said before, how I didn't listen to a ton of them beforehand, but then I saw him live, and I was so impressed that that's pretty much what I listened to all day for I don't even know how long, and that's exactly how I felt with him. I didn't listen to him a ton. I probably started listening to him about a week before the show, and ever since, I think I've listened to, I don't know, whether it's Speed Racer, Supa Boof, Brett Favre, something like that. I've listened to it every single day since.
Yeah. Live music does that to you, man.
It
like,
sticks with you.
You can have an artist in mind and you're like, I kind of like him, I kind of don't. And then you see him live and boom, change your whole opinion on him.
It also, it could go the opposite way too, because if you see somebody live that's sort of just like, you know, they're just lazy on stage, then it could turn you off. And I think that's why Warhol is like one of my favorite artists right now.
Definitely putting a good foot forward in it.
Especially after seeing the energy live, I could tell when he's in the booth or something. He's just like he's in the zone. Like I don't know. It's just he's one of my favorite people out right now, I gotta say.
Yeah, and speaking of Warhol and live performances, I know Lyrical Lemonade should be hosting an event, I think the 15th of July.
Yeah, July 15th.
And so if you're in the Chicagoland area, be sure to get tickets and check that out.
Yeah, Warhol's obviously on the bill.
So Made in Tokyo's headlining it, along with Royce Rizzy, who actually, I don't know if you guys knew this, Royce Rizzy and Made in Tokyo were brothers.
Yeah, I did know that. I did know that. I did not know Rizzy was going to be there, though.
Yeah, he's one of the headliners. I know Ugly God's a headliner, who I hadn't listened to him a ton until recently, but he I don't know, he just makes turn-up music. He's fun to listen to. Then I also believe Superboy's going to be there.
Yeah, man, he's blowing up.
Yeah, Superboy, and obviously Warhol. We got some special guests going there, so definitely July 15th. Go buy tickets right now. Check out Lyrical Lemonade's Twitter for their links for the tickets. So,
for updates.
Yeah, and moving on, I know Jimmy mentioned Speed Racer before, but that's a point that we really want to make is, I know, like, kind of going back to Brent Rambo, I saw an interview with Brent Rambo, and I guess when he sent a bunch of beats to Warhol, and Warhol didn't mess with any of them until he heard the Speed Racer beat, and then he started going back to re-listen to all of his other songs, and Speed Racer was the one that really made him stick out. And this song goes absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
like there's some ad libs in the beginning that Brent Rambo he makes, like, just it's funny voices and stuff, but it really
fits
adds,
Warhol for sure.
It adds to the song.
I would say if you're gonna start listening to Warhol, this is probably the first song you're gonna want to listen to, just because it kind of embodies everything that he's about, like his voice, the energy you could definitely feel, and I mean, I think this is probably his most listened to song on SoundCloud. I think it's almost up to 200,000 plays right now, which is pretty incredible for just like you know starting out on SoundCloud.
Yeah, being an artist on the rise.
Yeah, and being probably his biggest song. He also has a video for it. It was shot and edited by Cole Bennett, the leader and founder of Lyrical Lemonade. And Cole has made videos for a bunch of people, like Famous Dex, Stitches, Soulja Boy, like people like that are big names in the industry. And in my opinion, this is his best video that he's made, and probably one of, if not my favorite music videos in general out right now. It's just got crazy visuals, and it's just something you've never seen before.
The visuals are nuts.
Yeah, well, I mean, after I saw the One Night video for Lil Yachty, I was like, all right, this is probably my favorite video out right now.
It's a cool video.
It is a cool video, but then after I saw this Speed Racer video, I was like, wow, that might be better than the One Night video.
What I really liked about the Speed Racer video was, like, it was kind of cool because the way the video moves, it really moves with the music.
Oh, yeah.
And, like you said, like, that point where, like, he's like goes to like an office picture or something in in the office and then zooms in on the picture and those guys are going nuts and they felt like that right there was just like damn.
Yeah,
like,
he's pretty much like it's like in a green screen, but like it looks like he's sitting on some desk in an office, and then they pan in on a picture that's like hanging up on the wall, and it's just Warhol, a bunch of his friends just going crazy in front of some cars as the beat drops.
And that
it gives me
there,
goosebumps
just
watching it because it's absolutely
sets
insane.
the tone for like the whole song. You know exactly what you're getting at that point.
Yeah, another part of it that I liked was like when they're chilling in the car, and then the background turns into like this like outer space galaxy, all of the sky.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen that before in something.
But I haven't. I don't think I've ever seen it before. Just because
I don't know. I just
remember watching the 30-second preview that Cole Bennett released, or Lyrical
I think Cole did.
Somebody released it, and I just remember seeing the clip for it, and I was like, wow, this is going to be incredible. And then when you see the actual video, there's so much more than just
we were actually in the studio. I think we were doing one of our podcasts, and then like right after we were done, it released, and we were like, man, we're going to be talking about this soon.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Here we are.
And I mean, Speed Racer is just one of those songs that it's meant to be performed live. Like you can play it in a car at a party, and it goes hard. But when you see it live, it's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. So definitely, like we said before, go check him out at the Lyrical Lemonade event on July 15th. But one last thing I want to focus on with him is the collaborations he has. The first one that comes to mind is with Big Body Fiji. He's another up-and-comer in Chicago. He's got a completely different sound. It's kind of high, sing-songy, and it's almost like whiny, but I mean, I know describing it like that doesn't make him sound appealing, but it's not. It doesn't sound bad.
It's a good song.
No, it's super fitting.
It's really cool.
The
really song
does a good job.
The song's called Thrash Money Records, and it's Big Body Fiji, Warhol, and a couple others I don't know off the top of my head. And it's just insane going from Warhol's deep, like insane voice and just some of the rhymes he has to Big Body Fiji, who has the hook and also a verse, and they're talking about pretty much the same stuff, but they sound so different.
Yeah, the contrast between their two voices, between the verse and then the hook by Big Body, it's just, I just love the contrast. The beat, well, it seems basic, but it's so heavy hitting, and then you have some of the, I don't know, they sampled a movie, I think it was Denzel Washington or something in the beginning.
It might have been, yeah.
But it's just, the beat just hits so heavily for me, and then, you know, you have, obviously, Warhol's deep voice, and then Big Body comes in, and oh man, that song just bangs.
Yeah, and Big Body is a big deal because now Supa Boy is kind of he's talking about him on social media.
Yeah.
He's reposting some of his tracks on SoundCloud. He's tweeting about him, and that's a big deal because obviously Supa Boy is one of the biggest in the game in Chicago right now.
Man.
And so just the fact that he's messing with Big Body Fiji that much just shows you that he needs to be on your radar.
Yeah.
So the next collab that Warhol has is on a song called No Matching with Ty the Great. And I like this song a lot because I don't know exactly what it is, but it sounds like it's some sort of sample that they took from some like older song, and they loop it over and over. And I know that's a lot of times what you do on samples, obviously, but it's really impressive to hear. They both they don't have nearly as big of a contrast as Big Body Fiji and Warhol do, but they do have that contrast, but they complement each other really nicely.
Right.
So that's definitely something you got to check out. No Matching by Warhol featuring Tyler Great. And then the last but not least, we have a song with Pollari called Guacamole. I know that we have differing opinions in this group here. I personally, the hook isn't super lyrically driven. It's just, I need my chips, I need my guac, and it's kind of monotone, but then when it gets into the actual verses, that's when I really start messing with the song, because it takes it on a whole new level. Like, it's actually a really fun song to listen to.
Right. You know, it's not what you guys know, it's not one of my favorite songs, but I can totally see this song. You know, if this song was performed live, like, it would just go nuts live. Like, I could just see that. Like, listening to my headphones, like on the computer or something, I'm like, all right, like, it's not bad, but like, if I saw this song live, I feel like this is one of those times where I'd be like, okay, maybe it is pretty decent now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of song that I don't really listen to for lyrical content. I mean, I don't mind the hook, I don't mind the verses. I think the whole thing just goes super hard. The beat's heavy. Like I said, the lyricism obviously isn't necessarily there on this track, but that's not really what I'm looking for on this track. This is the type of track that I hope he performs on the 15th when we go see him, and I just think that this could bang super hard. And finally, I just think that this Pollari feature is pretty huge, because Pollari is coming up pretty big in the city. He has a feature with Lil Yachty, or Lil Yachty's featured in one of his songs, I believe. And he's becoming pretty big in the city, so to see these two guys on a track together is definitely good for Warhols, along with being the Red Bull Sound Select artist.
Some great tracks right there. Now, one last thing. Where do you guys see Warhol in the future, whether it's the next couple of years, next couple of months? What do you think he's going to be doing?
Well, I don't really know. I don't really have a timeline, I guess. I just think within the next near future, whether it's a couple of years or not, he has a pretty great work ethic. Like you said, he's been on a lot of the bills and the different shows in the city lately. And I think he'll go from being one of the smaller names on the bills to possibly being a headliner. And I don't know, I just think that that's something that he could definitely do. Like, he was on the bill with the Soulja Boy show, him and Bobby Raps. But I think that in the next couple of years, he could be the name, like, he could be the Soulja Boy of the show, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think Warhol's doing all the right things at the moment, and all the right things he can at the moment. I think, obviously, as his fame gets a little bit bigger, his stuff is going to get better as well. Mm. His music is going to get better as well. But that's the thing. He's putting out a lot of stuff right now, but it's quality over quantity, and he's doing a really good job with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know I talked to you about this before, but it sounds like, it reminds me a lot of like Future, like not the sound, but Future puts out so many projects. It seems like it's almost like once a month, and they're quality projects. Sure, there's the quantity there. Like, he releases more than most artists do in 3 years, but I think that's just the thing. He releases a lot of singles, not really any mixtapes, but
he has an EP out.
Yeah, he doesn't constantly release EPs or mixtapes. So I think the good thing is he is collabing with a lot of different artists. So he's kind of making those connections with different people, and that's obviously something that's really important in the industry.
He has to as well, because he's still a fresh artist, and that's the one way to get your name out there. And like I said, I think he's doing all the right things at the moment. So in his future, as far as future predictions go, if he keeps this up, I can't see it being all.
Personally, I see him going off and getting out of the city. He's not just going to be one of these artists that stays in the city. He is, and I think right now he's in LA. He's gone out to New York. He's gone all over the country, and he's making those connections. And
he's becoming more mainstream.
That's really important. And before you know it, he's going to be having the fan bases out there rather than just going out and visiting some people. So that's obviously really important too.
Well, I know he has a big connection in the city right now with Andrew Barber. He's the founder of Fake Shore Drive, which is a pretty big blog in Chicago for hip hop. I think he's one of the guys that helped put Chief Keef on, I believe. But
was it?
He might have been. I'm not 100% sure. But having that connection to a guy like that can help you thrive in not only Chicago, but, like Danny said, get out of Chicago and other major cities and become a national name.
That's the music business right there, man.
The more connections that you make, too, I think that'll help him along just musically and with getting things out. You know, like
exactly.
Right now we talked about how he has some singles and maybe a few EPs or just one EP. But, you know, as he makes the connections, it's going to be more of a, you know, maybe like a monthly basis, kind of like when Future releases his mixtapes a lot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's just with due time for
exactly.
sure.
Yeah, well, definitely get in tune with Warhol, our up-and-coming artist of the week. He's someone that you're going to be hearing a lot from, and he's somebody you definitely have to keep on your radar.
Yeah, bright future for that kid.
Yeah, and that's our show, everyone. Thanks for listening, and show us support and let us know how we can get better. Feel free to share topics, songs, artists, and ideas with us in the future. You can do this by following our Twitter at @scruff_squad and like our Facebook page, The Scruff Squad Presents, the broadcast from the Burbs.
Yeah, guys, please stay up to date on our Facebook and Twitter pages, as long as all of our other social media. We got a lot of stuff coming out, coming at you guys, coming soon. We have the website coming out, so stay tuned for that. We have YouTube coming out. Our YouTube channel is work in progress at the moment, but we're going to have videos. We're going to have our podcasts on it as well. And just some other stuff from the Scruff Squad brand as well. Stay up to date on SoundCloud and Mixcloud. We're going to be putting a lot of stuff up on there. And feel free to email us at scruffsquad60154@gmail.com. So.
Yeah, once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and supporting, and stay tuned for our next episode.
Yeah, thanks, guys.